So how did we get from this to this?
Deep in the furthest borders of the Outlands stands the house.
The short answer? A lot of synth guitar. Long answer? Let's dive in and see how the theme song for House on the Outlands came together. The idea for the theme began when Josh was working on the animatic and needed a song just to establish a scary horror theme that was also playful. So he popped open FL Studio and just noodled around until he got something that sounded great. It was going to be replaced later, right? I have a feeling that he didn't intend for the melody to stick, but it did. His first pass sounded something like this. After the animatic was nearly finished, it was time to bring in the big guns. Steve Horner from Horner Music. He's the guy who did music from Explorers and Bravehearts. We love Steve.
So Josh reached out to me on Skype, said, hey, I have this theme that I've kind of worked on. He didn't dictate anything to me. He didn't say we have to use it or anything like that, but he sent it to me. When I heard the theme, I thought, this is just really cool and good. And so let's run with it and let's keep working on it. We talked a lot about how that it sounded a little too MIDI. Yeah, I get that it's kind of cool to have it sound a little bit cheesy in a good way, but we just felt like it was a little too far on the cheese side. So my job was to take what he had done and refine it and get that MIDI guitar sounding a bit more real. And that was like the biggest thing that I worked on, was to take that MIDI guitar part that he had with all the cool hammer-ons and all the, when you listen to the theme, you'll hear it. It's all done on guitar, but it's all MIDI guitar. And MIDI guitar is one of the hardest things to do. To hear MIDI guitar, it was like kind of big in the 90s, like in cartoons and stuff. You'd hear a lot of MIDI guitar in it, and it's got its sound to it that actually I kind of like it. So we ended up with something that sort of, I thought, bridged the gap nicely between, being unapologetically MIDI to sounding real too. So it's sort of like a little bit of both mixed together. It's such a great theme, and Josh just hit it out of the park. It's so cool.
So Steve took that initial idea, gave it better instruments, and just ran with it all the way to the end zone. After Steve's arrangement, we got this gem back in our court. So while the melody is essentially the same, everything was made crystal clear with great supporting parts that made a complete arrangement. So how do you even elevate a Dynamite theme song after it's made? You add a super epic voice to tell us what kind of peril we're in. Just listen to this.
Deep in the furthest borders of the Outlands stands the house.
He's got the whole box office vibe, like just right in his gullet.
And save her house on the Outlands.
So, while we're talking about music, a quick side note. We really just want to say a special thank you to the artist Dance with the Dead. They were kind enough to let us use their song, A New Fear, in our trailer. This song just made our trailer more epic and something special. So, thank you so much. So, go check them out. Now, what do you do when you have a killer theme, a brilliant arrangement, and a perfectly creepy voice? Ba-da-da-da.
Deep in the furthest borders of the Outlands stands the house of an unspeakable horror, a little girl.
So what we ended up with here was something that wasn't planned or overthought. This was just a couple of amazing artists in their natural habitat, just one-shotting the theme for House on the Outlands. I'm floored. Okay, thanks for joining us. You can watch House on the Outlands here on Make Originals. And while you're at it, take a good listen, because the music is something special. Toodles.